In this video, we're going to go over editing your boundary to include data that's not within the boundary. So in this scenario, we've topoed a field, and we've first mapped out the boundary for the field boundary. But you'll notice there's a ditch over off to the left here, and anything outside of the field boundary is ignored. So while we're out topoing, some additional data points were collected outside the boundary. You can see those points here when you click on base data. But because those points are not inside the boundary, they're ignored. So to edit the boundary, we right click on the field name over on the left hand side, left click on edit boundaries. So now the boundary editing mode pops up. There's a couple ways of doing this. You could use the node edit tool and click on the boundary and edit the individual points that make up the boundary. For instance, just grabbing this one here, maybe this one right over here, and this one here. That is one way to do it. If you have a simple fix like this one, using that edit tool is quick and easy. But there might be situations where you have a more complex area, so I'm going to do this over again. I'll right click, go to edit boundaries. Another scenario we can use is the include polygon tool. This is the one I prefer. So click on include polygon tool. You need to start inside your boundary, and wherever you click, it's going to include that data for within this topo. You also need to finish inside your boundary, but if you right click and hit finish, it's going to include that area to your boundary. And it's nice and quick and simple and easy to use. Once you're done, hit save and close. Now you need to be sure once you've saved and closed that boundary, we must refresh the topographic surface for that boundary to take effect. So over on the left hand side, right click on topographic and left click on refresh surface. And it's going to rebuild the surface based upon those new data points, or that new boundary. Again, this might take a few minutes depending on how much data you have in your topo or how fast your computer is. There, it's all finished. So now that we've seen this, I can go down to the plus button beside views and click on topography. And so you'll notice more of this data is being used out here. However, FarmWorks generates this surface, and it's generated off of points around each other. So now if we go to base data, you'll notice we have one line of points coming out here. And we notice we have points all the way out to the boundary, but when you click on topography, you don't see points all the way out to the boundary. So if you're in a situation like this, it's best to get at least 3 passes. One path down the center of where you want to put your line, and then a path to the right and to the left of it. Since I don't have that, I can duplicate that data to make a surface. So if I go to base data, I'll click the pencil button to edit the topography, and I'm going to use my select tool, and I'm going to just draw a box around these points. I'm going to right click and hit copy. Now that they're copied, I can put my cursor over top of one of these points and hold down with my left mouse button. After I hold, you'll see a hand pop up, and I'm just going to drag these down below those existing points. It's going to move those points, but if I right click and hit paste, it'll put those points back. And so now I'm going to use my select tool again, draw around these points and highlight them, and then use the hand tool, move them up. And now I'll paste once more. So now I have 3 passes of data inside that area. If I hit save and close, I will again need to refresh my topographic surface, and I can do that just by right clicking on topographic and left click on refresh surface. And it's going to again rebuild the surface. But now it'll take all 3 lines of data to use to generate a surface all the way to the field boundary, so that we can extend our main out to that ditch. And we're almost complete. Now let's try looking at this once more. So now we have data coming all the way out to the ditch. So if I open up my drainage plan and bring it on top, and I can click my pencil button to edit this layer, I'm going to click my node edit tool, and as I click on this line, I can now take this and extend this point all the way out to this ditch here. And so now I look at the profile of this line going all the way out there, so you can see how it's coming out all the way to the ditch. This will allow us to have a more accurate reading for our mains. I hope this video tutorial is helpful. Be sure to look at SchlaterZinc.com for more tutorials.